The Sunday sunlight spilled across the long dining table, turning the silverware into tiny mirrors and catching the steam that rose from Mom's pot roast. That table had seen decades of Sunday dinners, from birthdays to family meetings, but tonight felt heavier. 18 people surrounded it. Siblings, cousins, aunts, uncles, the kind of family crowd that filled every chair and then grabbed spares from the living room. The familiar smell of meat, garlic, and baked bread wrapped the room in something that looked like warmth. I sat between my younger brother Marcus and Aunt Linda, quietly eating while everyone else's voices tangled around me. The old house hadn't changed. The floorboards still complained when anyone walked across them. The chandelier still tilted slightly to the left. Dad always claimed he'd fix it next week. And the faint water stain on the ceiling made its same faded flower shape. It was all oddly comforting, like sitting inside our family's history. At the far end of the table sat Vanessa, my older sister and self-proclaimed family achiever, directing the conversation like she owned it. She'd moved back in 6 months ago after her startup failed, and ever since, she'd made business strategy sound like a family duty. "This pot roast is incredible, Helen," said Uncle Frank, already reaching for seconds. Mom smiled tenderly. "Thank you. It's nice to cook for a full house again." Her eyes flicked lovingly toward Vanessa. Having Vanessa home has been such a blessing. Vanessa returned a perfect, calm smile. "And I'm grateful you opened your doors to me again. Honestly," she added, running her hand along the polished table edge. "It feels less like a stopover and more like coming home." Something in her tone made me look up. Dad chuckled. "Well, you did grow up here." "Exactly," Vanessa said smoothly, laying down her fork and folding her hands. "And that's actually part of what I wanted to talk about tonight." Instant silence. Even the clatter of a fork stopped. Mom blinked. "Talk about?" "The future of this house," Vanessa replied, pulling a neat folder from her bag as though she'd rehearsed this scene in her head. "You've both done so much, and since you're getting older, I think it's time to discuss how to keep the house in the family. Long term." Mom and Dad exchanged a glance, the universal parental signal for brace yourself. Vanessa flipped open her folder. "I've been researching property values, neighborhood trends, and estate strategies. This house is currently worth about $1.2 million, and to ensure it's protected and properly managed, it makes sense to make some decisions now." Dad's eyebrows drew together. "And what are you getting at exactly?" Vanessa took a confident breath, the kind she must have practiced in pitch meetings before her company collapsed. "Well, since I'm the eldest and currently living here, and since I have business experience dealing with properties and finances, I think it would be logical to transfer ownership of the house to me." Every utensil on the table suddenly seemed to freeze in midair. Marcus stopped mid-bite. Aunt Linda's fork hovered. Even the chandelier seemed to hold its crooked breath. Claire, my younger sister, frowned. "Wait, you want Mom and Dad to give you the house?" "Not give," Vanessa corrected coolly. "Transfer, legally with appropriate documentation. I've already spoken to an estate lawyer. If done right, they can keep lifetime residency rights while minimizing taxes." Marcus snorted under his breath. "How generous." Vanessa shot him a sharp look. "This isn't about generosity. It's responsible asset management. Someone in this family has to think practically about logistics." She flipped to another page in her binder. "I've even drafted a preliminary agreement. It's not binding, just a framework for discussion." Dad's face began to turn red. "You drafted an agreement for our house, without even mentioning it to us first?" "I'm mentioning it now in front of everyone. Full transparency. No secrets." "Transparent," Claire repeated bitterly. "You mean manipulative. You moved back 6 months ago because you were broke, and now you want to turn that into free real estate." Vanessa's face tightened. "I'm not taking anything. I've been maintaining this property, paying for repairs, managing maintenance. It's practical that I take ownership." "With whose money?" I asked quietly, setting down my fork. The room shifted. Eyes turned toward me. Vanessa's eyebrows arched. "Excuse me?" "The furnace," I said. "That repair cost $4,200, didn't it? And the roof patching, $3,800. You said you'd handle it. But you don't have those funds, Vanessa. Not with your bankruptcy filings and maxed out credit cards. You've got $247 in your account, and your former business owes around $340,000. A stunned silence fell. Her voice came out low and dangerous. How do you know about my finances? Because Mom worries, I said simply. She talks, and I listen, so tell us again, who paid for those repairs? Vanessa's jaw pressed tight. I have resources you don't know about. Yes, I nodded. Mom and Dad's names. You opened credit cards with their information 6 weeks after moving back in. You've charged $2,400 across 2 accounts. The statements come to this address. But you get to the mail first. That's a lie, she snapped, pale now. Dad pulled out his phone instantly, his face turning to stone as he typed. There are 2 Capital One accounts, I continued. Both opened in September. One balance is $12,100, the other $11,300. Vanessa shoved back her chair. This is ridiculous. I don't have to sit here and be accused. You don't have to sit here at all, I interrupted sharply. I reached into my bag and pulled out my own folder, the one I had been keeping close for weeks. She attempted to snatch the old deed from her folder, shaking it in the air like a flag. This house belongs to Mom and Dad, she said, her voice trembling but defiant. You can't tell me to leave. Actually, I said, sliding my folder open, it doesn't belong to them anymore. Vanessa froze. It belongs to me. I placed the new ownership documents flat on the table. Every eye followed, the title deed, the county record, the transfer paperwork, all showing 847 Maple Street purchased by Jessica Martinez. 32 days ago. Full cash payment. Mom pressed her hand to her mouth. We were going to tell everyone tonight, she whispered. Dad nodded solemnly. Jessica bought the house from us last month. Full market value. We needed the money for the Arizona condo. It's been our plan for retirement. Vanessa's head snapped toward them. You sold the house? Without telling us? We sold our house, Dad said firmly. It was our decision. But I live here, Vanessa shouted. Not for long, I said calmly. As the legal owner, I'm giving you 30 days to leave. That's standard notice for someone without a lease. Vanessa's face flushed, rage crawling up her neck. You can't do this. You can't kick me out. I can, I replied. I'm the owner. I get to decide who lives in my house. She turned desperately to our parents. You can't let her do this. This is our family home. Mom's eyes were soft but firm. It was our home. But we're moving. We wanted to downsize and be closer to Aunt Carol. Jessica offered to buy it and keep it in the family. Perfect. Vanessa laughed bitterly. The youngest one, the one who moved away, swoops back in and buys the house. Of course, Dad said steadily, we needed full value, Vanessa. We can't afford to give away $1 million asset. What about me? She snapped. Where am I supposed to go? I met her eyes. You should have thought about that before committing fraud and trying to manipulate our parents. This isn't manipulation, she shouted, clutching her folder. It's responsible financial planning. No, I said evenly, pulling out another document. It's theft. And I have 32 days of security footage to prove it. Her mouth fell open. Yes, I continued. I installed cameras. They show you opening our parents' mail, activating cards in their names, and signing their checks. They also show you showing real estate investors around this place last week, telling them it was your house and that you were planning to sell. Uncle Frank let out a low whistle. That's not... I wasn't... Vanessa stammered. Committing multiple kinds of fraud, I finished. Then I turned to Mom and Dad. Do you want to press charges? They exchanged a long glance. That silent language they've perfected over 40 years of marriage. No, Mom said softly. But Vanessa, you need to leave. And you need help. Vanessa looked around the table, eyes wide, mouth trembling, realizing her plan had collapsed. You're choosing her over me, she spat. We're choosing honesty, Dad said. Over manipulation. Her folder fell to her side like a flag surrendering. My phone buzzed just then, a message from the moving company I had hired quietly. Truck's in position, awaiting your signal. I'll give you a choice, I told her evenly. You can pack your things in peace over the next week. Or the movers can come right now and do it for you. You're bluffing, she hissed. I texted, proceed. Minutes later, the rumble of engines filled the street outside. Everyone turned toward the window. 2 large moving trucks pulled up in front of the house. 4 uniformed men stepped out. You didn't, Vanessa whispered. I stood, smoothing my napkin on the table. I did. The doorbell rang. I opened it. Miss Martinez? The lead mover asked. That's me, I said. Her room is upstairs, second floor, northeast corner. Pack everything carefully. It all goes to storage unit 447 at Metro Storage. 3 months prepaid. Wait, Vanessa shouted. You can't. The mover looked at me. I held out the deed. I'm the owner. She's an unauthorized tenant. Please continue. They walked past her and climbed the stairs. She stood frozen, powerless, listening as drawers opened and boxes unfolded upstairs, her entire illusion of control collapsing around her. Vanessa turned to face the family. You're all just going to sit there. Noon moved. Mom, Dad, you tried to steal our house, Vanessa, Dad said quietly. Jessica bought it fairly. What happens now is between you and her. Claire, Marcus, my younger siblings looked uncomfortable but stayed seated. Unbelievable, Vanessa said. My own family. Your family tried to help you, I said. Mom and Dad gave you a place to live, supported you emotionally and financially. You repaid them by committing fraud and trying to take their home. Sounds of movement came from upstairs. Dresser drawers opening, closet doors creaking. The movers will pack everything tonight. Your belongings go to climate-controlled storage. Pay through January. That gives you 90 days to figure out your next step. How generous, Vanessa said bitterly. It is generous. I could have put everything on the curb. Instead, I'm ensuring your belongings are safe while you find housing. Where am I supposed to go tonight? There's a Marriott 2 miles away. I've booked you a room for 1 week already paid. I handed her a hotel key card. Vanessa stared at it like it might bite her. I've also compiled evidence of the credit card fraud, the forged applications, the statements, the security footage. It's ready to submit to police if needed. But if you leave quietly tonight, cooperate with them overs and close those fraudulent accounts immediately. I won't file charges. Blackmail, she whispered. Consequences. You committed crimes. I'm offering you a way to avoid prosecution if you do the right thing. The movers came downstairs carrying boxes, clothes, shoes, personal items. They moved efficiently, loading everything into the trucks. This is insane, Vanessa said, her voice losing its fight. You're really doing this. I really am. Cooperate and make this easy, or resist and make it difficult. Either way, you're leaving tonight. She looked around one last time at the family watching her world collapse, at them overs packing her life, at the property deed showing ownership she'd never have. I hate you, she said finally. You hate that you couldn't manipulate your way into a free house, I replied. There's a difference. Vanessa grabbed her purse and walked out. She didn't say goodbye, just left, climbing into her car and driving away before the movers finished. The trucks pulled away 90 minutes later. The house felt emptier, quieter. Well, Uncle Frank said eventually, that was quite a dinner. Nervous laughter rippled through the room. Mom came to me, took my hands. You knew she'd react this way. That's why you had everything planned. I knew. I've been watching her scheme for weeks. The credit cards, the estate attorney, the real estate investors. She was building up to tonight. So you bought the house first, Dad said. I bought it because you needed to sell it, and I wanted to keep it in the family. But yes, I accelerated the timeline when I realized what Vanessa was planning. Claire approached. Are you keeping the house? Living here? Not living here, but keeping it as an investment property. You're all welcome anytime. It's still the family home, just not Vanessa's personal asset to steal. What happens now? Marcus asked. Now Mom and Dad finalize their Arizona condo. I hire a property manager. Vanessa figures out their life without fraud and we all move forward. Will you forgive her? Mom asked quietly. Ask me when she apologizes. Really apologizes. Not for getting caught for what she actually did. We cleaned up in relative silence. People left gradually, still processing what they'd witnessed. When everyone had gone, I stood in the empty dining room looking at the space where Vanessa had announced her plan to take everything. My phone buzzed. A text from the storage facility. All items secured in Unit 447. Another text from Vanessa. I'll never forgive you for this. It typed back, I gave you a $1.2 million chance to do the right thing. You chose fraud instead. That's on you. No response. I locked up my house and drove home to my actual residence across town. Sometimes family means protecting the people who raised you from the people who'd exploit them. Even when the explorer is your sister, even when doing the right thing makes you the villain in someone else's story. The house would be fine. Mom and Dad would enjoy Arizona. Vanessa would eventually find her way, hopefully learning that manipulation doesn't build real success. And I'd sleep well knowing it stopped a con before it could destroy my parents' retirement. That was worth being hated.